Chapter 9. When I slammed into the kitchen, Erica wasn't there. I called out just in case, but there's something about an empty house. You always know when you're alone. I pictured her taking her time coming home, sulking, mad, hoping I'd worry about her. Little brat, I couldn't stand my sister anymore. I was sick of her scenes, sick of the doll I hoped we'd never find it. I smeared the thick layer of peanut butter on a piece of bread, poured myself a glass of cider, and went to my room to play games on my iPad. But for some reason, I couldn't concentrate. The silence of the house pressed against my ears. A clock ticked, the refrigerator turned off and on, a gust of wind rattled the window panes, noises you never heard except when there were no other noises. I closed my iPad and went to the window. Where was Erica? I walked down the hall to her room. Maybe she'd been hiding there all the time, playing a trick on me. Yes, that must be it. She'd beaten me home, run upstairs, and hidden. It was just the sort of prank she'd pull. Fully expecting to see her sitting on her bed, laughing at me, I flung open the door and flicked on the light. A row of stuffed animals sat on the window seat, staring at me with shiny round eyes. I called my sister's name. I looked under her bed and in the closet, expecting her to jump out and scare me. No, Erica. As I turned to leave the room, I saw the van's headlights coming down the driveway. With a half-formed hope that Erica would be with Mom and Dad, I ran down the back stairs to the kitchen and opened the door before Dad had a chance to fumble with his key. Well, thanks, buddy. Dad brushed past me and set a case of wine down on the counter with a thud. Mom was right behind him, balancing a stack of carry-out cartons of Lucky's Chinese restaurant. No pizza tonight, Muga Gay Pan for you and me and Erica. And General Chow's chicken for me. Dad turned to the cupboard to get dinner plates. Go fetch Erica so we can eat before the wonton soup gets cold. Why are you just standing there, Mom asked. What's wrong? Where's Erica? I took a deep breath, then started again. She's not. Mom left the kitchen. Erica, she called. Erica. Dad grabbed my shoulders and spun me around to face him. What's going on, Daniel? Where's your sister? She's not here, Dad. I don't know where she is. We had a fight. She wouldn't come home with me, and she ran off. She ran off? Dad stared at me. Why didn't you go after her? How could you let her run off? I tried to stop her, Dad, but she was mad, just like yesterday, and his eyes lit on a jar of peanut butter and the loaf of bread I'd forgotten to put away. You came home and ate a sandwich? Is that what you did? I thought she'd be here any minute. I never imagined she'd do something like this. Mom reappeared. She's not in the house, Ted. Dad grabbed my shoulders again, harder this time. Where did you last see her? In the clearing. We were looking for the doll, but she wasn't there, and Erica wouldn't come home with me. She got mad. She said it was all my fault, and then she ran away from me, and I got mad at her, and I came home. Dad swore softly. Martha, you stay here in case she comes back. Daniel, grab your jacket and a couple of flashlights. I followed Dad out into the dark, cold night. The wind was blowing harder now, and the trees set wild, rocking shadows across the driveway. In the woods, Dad began calling Erica. I joined in. Erica, Erica, Erica. Her name bounced from tree to tree, caught by the wind, tossed into the sky. But she didn't answer. She didn't come. Where are you? Dad called. His voice scraped raw from shouting. Are you? The trees repeated. Creatures in the underbrush rustled. An owl screeched. Our voices sounded small in the noisy darkness. We called her name again and again. We waved our flashlights in hope that she'd see their bobbing light. We were hoarse from calling and desperate when she didn't answer. The faint trail gave out, and we began circling back to the house without realizing it until we saw the lights in the windows. We need to call the police, Dad said. We don't know the land the way they do. We'll get lost ourselves if we keep going. Wordlessly, we made our way home. Mom was on the front porch, shivering in her warmest down coat. You didn't find her? No, Dad stopped to hug her. Mom clung to him. They stood there whispering to each other as if they'd forgotten about me. I waited, shifting my weight from one frozen foot to the other, afraid Bloody Bones might be watching us from the trees. Not that I believed he actually existed, not in my world, the real world, the five senses world, but with the wind blowing and the moon sailing in and out of the clouds like a ghost racing across the sky, I could almost believe I'd crossed a border into another world where anything could be true, even conjure women and spells and monsters. The police came sooner than we'd expected. We heard their sirens and saw their flashing lights before they'd even turned into the driveway. 4 cars and an ambulance stopped at the side of the house. Doors opened, men got out. A couple of them had dogs, big German shepherds who'd pulled on their leashes, excited. Flashing lights washed the living room walls with red and blue. Why did they bring an ambulance? Mom clung to Dad, her face a strange ashen color. He frowned at the scene outside. It's standard procedure when something like this happens. Something like what? I wondered. No one was hurt. We didn't need an ambulance, unless they thought, but no, Erica wasn't hurt. She was just lost. They'd find her fast with those dogs. I'd tell her I was sorry I got mad at her. I was scared, that was all. Scared of what? An old folk tale? I shivered as a draft of cold air came creeping into the house. At my age, how could I be scared of a boogeyman? 2 policemen came inside and went upstairs. I heard their shoes clunking overhead. A policewoman sat down with us at the dining room table. She had questions: Erica's full name and age, a description of her and the clothes she was wearing, and the circumstances of her disappearance. Daniel was supposed to walk home from the school bus stop with Erica, Mom said in a shaky voice, but they had a fight, and she faltered and tried to brush away her tears. The detective turned to me. What was this fight about? She'd been jotting things in a little notebook, and now she was sat looking at me, waiting, her pen poised. She had stubby fingers and a cut close fingernails, no polish, no makeup either, a plain face, short hair, not very friendly, small, hard eyes. The name on her badge said Detective Irma Schenk. I told her what I'd told Dad, still leaving out any mention of things in the woods or Celine Estes. My hand shook and one leg jiggled without my being able to stop it. So he came home and ate a peanut butter sandwich, Mom said when I'd finished. Then I imagine he went upstairs to play a game on his iPad. When we came home, he panicked and told us what happened. While Mom talked, Detective Schenk watched me, still jotting things down. Is that what you did, Daniel? Yes, but I thought Erica was playing a trick on me. She does things like that. She looked at Mom and Dad, and they nodded. Sometimes Erica is very willful, Dad said. She's not happy here. I wanted to say that goes for all of us, but I kept my mouth shut. Where did you live before you moved? Fairfield, Connecticut, Dad said. Detective Schenk leaned across the table. I know your daughter's only 7, but do you think she'd try to go back there? Dad and Mom looked at each other and shook their heads. None of us could picture Erica going to Connecticut. She had no money, and even if she did, what ticket seller would let her get on a bus all by herself? She's high-strung, fearful, Mom said. I can't imagine her being outside in the dark. She's afraid of the dark. She sleeps with a light on. Now Mom began to cry in earnest. She must be so scared and so cold. A policeman came inside. We need something Erica has worn recently so we can set the dogs on her trail. And a recent photograph, Detective Schenk added. Dad went upstairs and came back with a pair of red socks Erica had worn the day before. Mom gave the police one of the recent set of school photographs. Beautiful little girl, Detective Schenk said, but such a sad expression. She looked at us with narrowed eyes as if she was blaming us for everything. The policeman went outside with the socks. Through the window, I saw the dogs sniff the socks before the policeman led them into the field. I can't believe this is happening, Mom said. It's like a nightmare. I know, the detective patted Mom's hand. Would you like tea? Mom nodded, and the women went to the kitchen. Make yourself useful, Daniel, Dad said. Show her where things are. Please don't blame me for this, Dad. Dad looked around the room. I don't see anyone else to blame. In the kitchen, I went to the cabinet over the stove and got out cups and saucers. Detective Schenk had already found tea bags and put the kettle on the stove. While we waited for the water to boil, she looked at me. When you and Erica were fighting, did you hit Erica, Daniel? Knock her down or hurt her somehow? Her question really upset me. Did she suspect me of harming Erica in some way or leaving her unconscious in the woods? I shoved her, I admitted, and she fell down, but not hard. She jumped up and ran away from me. Are you sure that's all you did? I'd never hurt my sister. Of course you wouldn't, not on purpose. She looked at my face closely and touched the scratches on my cheek. Did Erica do this? It was a branch. She pushed it out of her way, and it swung back and hit me. The thorn scratched me, not my sister. What were you fighting about? I told you she was mad about the doll. She said it was my fault it was gone. Why did you prevent Erica from picking up the doll yesterday? It was almost dark. We had to go home. I don't understand what difference it would have made to pick up the doll. I started crying. I couldn't help it. I should have let her get the doll. She really loves it. I wish I had, but I don't like being in the woods when it's dark. The tea kettle started whistling while I was trying to explain. Mom heard it, I guess, and came to the door. What's going on? She asked the detective. Daniel's a minor. You have no right to question him without my permission. I was just trying to understand why the doll was left in the woods yesterday, ma'am. It seems peculiar. Mom turned off the stove and the kettle's shrill whistle stopped. She put an arm around me, and I leaned against her, incredibly grateful for her protection. I'd begun to think that my whole family, as well as anyone else in Woodville, hated me, including Detective Irma Schenck. I was scared, I finally admitted. I was scared to stop for the doll. What were you afraid of? Detective Schenck shook her head as if she didn't believe me. You don't look like the sort of boy who's easily scared. I thought I saw something in the woods, in the shadows, I told her. I was scared it was coming after Erica and me. Detective Schenck seemed unconvinced. Probably she'd already decided I had more to do with Erica's disappearance than I was saying. Mom spoke up. The children have been nervous, anxious. They're not used to living in the country with no neighbors. It's so dark at night. They're imaginative. Mom held me tighter. She was crying again. Daniel has told you all he knows. Please spend your time searching for Erica. She's out there in the cold, and you're sitting here questioning Daniel as if you suspect him of harming his sister. Detective Schenck got to her feet. Children often know more than they let on, she said with a glance at me. I'm trying to understand all the aspects, ma'am. Believe me, I want to find your daughter as much as you do. With that, the detective left the house and joined the police, who were now searching the shed. Do you want tea? Still want tea, Mom? She nodded, and I made us both a cup. Do you think Dad wants one? He's outside, no doubt, making a nuisance of himself. Cup in hand, she went to the window and stared past the reflection in the kitchen into the darkness beyond. Where can she be, Daniel? Suddenly, Dad barged into the kitchen with a couple of cops. He was holding Erica's knit hat, the one she'd worn yesterday. One of the dogs found it caught on a branch, he said, about a mile from here. A mile! How could she have got that far? Mom took the hat and pressed it to her face. Crying softly, she continued to gaze into the darkness beyond the window. Where are the dogs? I asked. Are they still on Erica's trail? Dad gestured toward the squad cars and the ambulance still parked near the house. Out there, they lost her scent not long after they found the hat. I stared at Dad. But they'll find her, right? Yes, of course. Tomorrow they'll ask for volunteers to form lines and search the woods. It'll be better in the daylight. They can. His voice dropped and he stared out the window. I can't believe this. Before the police left, the officer in charge told us to get some sleep, to hope for the best. Erica was probably lost, but with the help of volunteer searchers, they'd find her tomorrow. I can't speak for my parents, but I doubt they slept much that night. I certainly didn't. For hours, I sat at my bedroom window, willing Erica to find her way out of the woods. I'll never tease you again or get mad at you, I promised. Just come home, please, Erica, please come home. I'm so, so sorry.